This is a great show, and I think it catches onto one of the key debates industry is having. So we have been talking about small cells for a long time. What does small cells mean? Will they ever grow? And the way we see that in IBB Consulting is small cells has already grown. It's unlicensed small cell, also known as Wi-Fi. We have millions, if not billions of them out there. Any hospital you go to, any venue, any stadium you go to, they are always there. Now the question comes that, okay, why the unlicensed small cell has been so successful, but not the licensed ones? So we can break it down from two sides. One is the supply side and another is the demand side. So let's go to the supply side for a second. Three things you need for deploying small cell. You need the backhaul, you need the power, and you need the mounting location. And when you look at fixed line providers or MSOs, they have all three. So for them, if we want to deploy small cell, if we have all three, we are going to go ahead and deploy Wi-Fi. The wireless carriers who want to deploy the licensed small cell, they do not have any of those three. So they are challenged there. But they have the spectrum, they have the licensed small cell, or the mobile core rather. So now the question comes that when do all these factors come together so that we can see licensed small cell deployment? So inevitably, whenever you have to bring too many things together, the dollar figures into the question. So now the mobile operators are wondering, do I have really market for this small cell? So that takes us to the demand side of it. When at the demand side you look at it, we are using base effort data nowadays. We are using from 1 gigabyte to 2, going to 3, and based on which projection you look at, it's going to grow several times over. But it's all about base effort data. We don't think the wallet share is going to grow that much. If 3 years from now, people are using, say, instead of 2 gigabytes now, they are using 5 gigabytes on mobile, they are not going to pay 2.5 times more to a mobile operator because the wallet share has reached saturation. So we feel the demand there will come from a different data sector, which we call the premium data. It's about self-driving cars, it's about latency-sensitive enterprise applications where you need highly reliable data that is secure and that has very low latency. So there you need licensed band, you need a sophisticated radio resource management algorithm like LTE-U, LTE Advanced, and you need something like a pretty secure and advanced code. So we feel as that segment starts growing and more people or enterprises start using that data, carriers will find the business case to deploy licensed small cells. Yeah, with Sprint, they have the unique situation that among the top 4, they are the one who is sitting on a pile of high-band spectrum, which is very suitable for small cell. So definitely their thinking is on the right track that given we have all that spectrum, let's focus on downtown, let's focus on the congested areas where we can solve many of the coverage and capacity issues with a small cell. Great point. So when you look at that, the in-home coverage, though it seems like inside the home we always have a solution, but it happens most of our, at least 50% of our voice call is in-home, and almost 50% of data consumption is also in-home, though most of that goes over Wi-Fi. So when you go back to the 3G days, that model was growing where you can buy a femtocell from a carrier, put it inside your home to make your both call quality better. Now with LTE, when you look at VoLTE and those type of services, and if you look at advanced messaging and all those services are coming on VoLTE, quite often it's easier to offer them on LTE interface compared to an radio interface which the operator does not have control on. So I believe that's where they are going so that they have a better visibility and control on the subscriber experience. So when I look at 3.5, I mean, if you look at most of the rest of the world, it's already a pretty well-established band. It's band 42 and band 43 in LTE. In US, we are just now getting there. And as the small cell tsunami takes over, probably next 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 years, there will be a huge demand for high-band spectrum. And they are beyond the 2.5 that Sprint has. 3.5 is the next viable option. So we definitely see a huge growth potential there. Of course, the questions are some of the technology improvement we have to get there. How do we coordinate among the different tiers of user? How do we do the interference mitigation? And all that we have always seen that if there is a defined technical problem, we always find a solution to it. So if you look at the current Macrosite layout, I think the key point that you mentioned is leveraging the site you already have. So that tower layout that we have was pretty much most of it was defined in 2000. At that time, the smartphone was primarily, I mean, there wasn't a smartphone, but the phone was a device which was used for talking. Now it's used for anything but talking. So, but the tower layout hasn't changed a lot. So it's still designed to provide service a particular type of, like particular service profile. And what I mean by that is for voice, it's pretty much you have coverage or you don't. Having a better coverage doesn't give you necessarily a better voice quality as long as you are above the coverage threshold. But in data, the world is very different, where like a megahertz is not a megahertz, because if you are providing that megahertz with a higher power, you get higher modulation schemes, so higher capacity. So what it comes down to is if you look at this hotel with all the thick walls, marble, when you are trying to cover it from outside, you are immediately losing like 10 dB or 15 dB, almost 10 times the signal power, which means there is a huge drop in the capacity that you provide. That is another great point. I think one of the key barriers to small cell adoption has also been overall the user education, which includes the end user as well as the venue owners. If you look at Wi-Fi growth, one of the key reasons Wi-Fi is so ubiquitous is the venue owners jumped into this bandwagon very quickly. When it comes to the small cell, the part they quite often are challenged to it, that, okay, if I deploy a small cell, say of Verizon, that will work only for Verizon user. Now I have to get one from T-Mobile, one for AT&T, one for Sprint. Do I really want 4 boxes hanging around in my building? So I think there are a lot of the neutral host model, if the carriers can eventually get there, will be a huge benefit for the venues.